Never objects. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back. Another monthly membership meeting. I'm glad that you're all here. It's going to be a fun night tonight. You get to hear from all of us running, all the things that we want to do for Fremont for everyone. And of course, if you want to jump in, we have the link in the chat. You can throw your throw your hat in the ring as well. I'm very excited about what's coming up this Wednesday before we get started. If anybody's seen, I have the Fremont mayoral candidate forum. We haven't done a candidate forum in a while, huh? When was the last time we did one?
4 years ago.
22, from
4 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay.
You say
Yeah.
last election
Last election. Yeah.
that had candidates.
You know what? Okay. That's because I came in on 2022, so that's why I don't remember. Okay. Well, yeah, so we're going to be doing one for the mayoral and for the city council, and that's going to be on the 30th. And so it's going to be your chance to come down and hear from the candidates and also be able to get your questions in if you want. So
Jenna, it's 6:30 at the main library on both nights.
yeah, it's 6:30 for the 25th at the
People
main
that are
library.
listening, it's not only a date, it's a place and a location and a time.
Oh no, I know. I was going to get to that. But thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
I've had quite a few people ask me, how are we going to let them audience ask questions? Are we going to do it like a city council way, or are somebody going to run around with the mic?
So we're going to have people turn in cue cards.
Okay.
Write down the question, and then we will answer them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Turn them in to David. David will be the moderator. I'll be the MC, starting it all off. So, yeah. Just remember, this Wednesday, 25th, 6:30 at the library. Come on down. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to you, Hayes, and get this thing started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenna. It's great to see everyone's virtual faces. I miss you all.
Same.
I'm really glad this organization is going strong and doing some great work in our community. And I'm always happy to hear everyone's vision, even though I know you guys already. So the way that this is going to work is that I have 3 questions, and we have how many candidates? Six candidates tonight. If any others decide to join, then just go ahead and put the react button, a thumbs up or something, and then I will be sure to include you in these responses as well. So just keep in mind, like this is a tele-recording for the broader audience. So even if we know each other, it's important to introduce yourself and actually make yourself known to the broader Fremont for everyone community. So so it looks like we have 6. So we have how long do we have, Jenna, for this? Do we have like a time?
We normally go to 7:30.
Okay, all right, that's a good amount of time. So I'm basically just gonna set a 3-minute timer for per question. 9 times 6, 50. Yeah, that's about it. You can use all of it or you can use none of it. It's up to you. So
How much time you had, sorry?
3 minutes. Does that sound fair per question?
Sure.
And I'm not gonna be that, if you want to go for 5, go for it. The more the better. If it gets to be a problem, I will cut it off. So without further ado, I'm going to present the first question for everybody, which is simply, please introduce yourself and what is your experience, and answer what is your experience with housing advocacy in general, and specifically with Fremont for Everyone. Please introduce yourself and describe your housing advocacy experience and Fremont for Everyone experience. I'm going to pass it off to Jenna first.
Okay, thank you, Hayes. Many of you here know me. Some may be in here that don't. My name is Jenna Doherty. I am a trans activist, and with Fremont for Everyone, I'm the communications director. So I'm the one that sometimes gets out the late emails. I apologize for that. My biggest focus with the housing advocacy, one of the things I really enjoy that we do with Fremont for Everyone is the fact that we work with the DMV, so we get to go to Sacramento and lobby for affordable housing and bills that could help with, making sure there's more resources and more help for the unhoused. And I get to bring a bit of a trans perspective as well when I'm pitching the bills. So it's one of the things that I really look forward to be able to do. Also, doing the events that we're doing on Wednesday, getting people to be able, constituents to be able to talk with their, well, not necessarily talking to them, we get to see their elected officials and hear what they have to say directly on topics related to the unhoused and affordable housing. So I'm very much a hands-on people kind of person, and I enjoy basically all of the aspects that come with that. And so, yeah, that's those are the main things that I enjoy about doing it, this organization. Uh-oh. Can't hear you, Hayes.
Oh, thank you, Jenna. Sorry about that. Thank you very much for that. And after you, I'm going to pass it to your left, which is David Bonacorsi.
Good evening, Hayes, and welcome back. Thank you for moderating the forum tonight. And my background is I'm a lifelong Fremont resident and proudly served on the Planning Commission for 10 years and then 2 years on the City Council, with a focus on affordable housing that grew over time. And I've seen the evolution of our city through the general plan that we did it as an update back in 2012 up to the current time, where the state has increasingly taken an active role in making sure that we meet our goals for more housing. We have a lot to do. And during this time, as well as being on the commission and council, I served when I was on the Planning Commission, also on the board of directors for Abode Services. So I got to see a nonprofit in action as an advocacy group, but more importantly, building affordable housing and dealing with governmental agencies. I've had a great experience. Really, this is a team effort. It's not any of us. It's just fun working with each of you who have the same commitments to the same goals. We started as the Friends of the HNC, or the Housing Navigation Center, as an organic grassroots organization advocating in the face of stiff public opposition to support our council and our city in having a housing navigation center right before the pandemic. And it's been very, very successful, and continue to do advocacy work. And recently, and we can talk about it, but as an attorney too, I think I bring a certain perspective on Supreme Court cases or case law and statutes that really has that particular lane. And I've been very passionate about the devastation to the landscape of criminalizing the status of homelessness with the recent Supreme Court case in City of Grant Pass versus Johnson, and its implications here locally and in the ordinances that the city is seemingly wanting to jump ahead and do. So I'd love to continue to serve in that capacity, and want to hear my fellow leaders speak about their credentials as well.
Thank you very much, David. Next, I have Catherine Ruby.
My name is Catherine Ruby, and I began my housing advocacy in 2019 when I became homeless. And my advocacy began informally with discussions on the Nextdoor app. And later I joined the Rise Coalition and the Filipino Advocacy for Justice, in which I began working on a bill that had been put forth, which was AB 1482, and which was actually signed into law by Governor Newsom. That bill was to prevent no-fault evictions and reduce the number of times landlords could raise the rent and the amount of rent that they could raise it by each year. And shortly after that time, or during that interim, I became involved with the Homeless Navigation Center. I had been invited by the Rise Coalition to speak to City Council, and they were going to do the vote. And while I was there, I somehow got introduced to, I believe it was David or Hayes. I don't remember whom, but I got introduced and I ended up with a speaker ticket through you guys, the Friends of the Housing Navigation Center, to speak. I think I was number 11. And so I was in the city council chambers, and I was terrified as a homeless person to speak in front of a lot of people who were so anti-HNC in my backyard or HNC in Fremont altogether. And I was listening while they were doing the presentation to the surrounding comments, and it was just, it felt very threatening to me. And I just said, don't have to do this, I can leave. But I decided to stay. I gave my statement. And, you know, we started out with 3 minutes and the time kept getting reduced. And so I ended up with 45 seconds to say what I needed to say. I don't even remember what I said, but I said it. Apparently it was moving because a lot of people were smiling and trying to shake my hand when I was going back to my seat. That caught the attention of the local news channel who did an interview with me. And I guess you guys were kind of following me over the next couple of years, because in June of 2021, I was asked if I would consider running as a leader when you guys were formally becoming an organization as FFE. And I said, sure, I would love to. That would be my dream come true. So I ran, I got the position, and I have been a leader for 3 years running. This would be my 4th if I were to be elected again, and it will probably be my last. But I would really like to continue strengthening the organization for FFE and move our agendas forward and continue looking for things rather than waiting for things to come up in terms of homelessness and advocacy around tenant rights, homeless issues, and housing.
Thank you, Catherine. That was very beautiful, and that's a lesson to all of you. If you speak well in public, we might recruit you. So, next up, Lisa Dance.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lisa Dans. I use she, her pronouns. I've lived in Fremont since 2018, and I got involved with this group because I was trying to speed run my local education because I was new to the city right when there was an election. So I started attending city council meetings. And then when I started hearing people say horrible things about our unhoused neighbors, I realized I needed to get involved and eventually met all of you. So that's the story of how I got involved. And I really love that Fremont for Everyone mission includes trying to resolve the root causes of homelessness and not just sort of try to mitigate the impacts, but do both, because it's a both and situation. So I've been, I got involved on the leadership team before we did elections for it, when Hayes and I had a conversation and I mentioned that I care about housing and climate, and he thought that perspective would be interesting. And since then, I've tried to bring my time and organizational capacity to the leadership team and have done things such as making sure we don't drop the ball on various different tasks, organizing committee meetings, pulling together volunteers to show up to talk to members of our state legislature or show up to volunteer events, et cetera. And I've been attending our monthly calls with the California YIMBY, where they do their legislative partner strategy sessions to stay abreast of the stuff that's happening at the state level. And I will leave it there.
Thank you, Lisa. Next is, let's see, Annie. Are you available?
Sure. Yes, I apologize. I'm multitasking and also supposed to be in class right now. I'm Annie, the pronouns, and have been with Fremont for Everyone basically since the beginning. I remember when we were the Friends of the Housing Navigation Center. I ran our tabling program at the community listening sessions, where we heard a bunch of bigoted and vitriolic hate about our unhoused neighbors. as well as a lot of really beautiful community coming together and rebutting that, realizing it was wrong. Since then, I've served on the leadership team for a few terms. I've been really proud and really excited to engage with policy, especially. Right, I fundamentally believe that if we want outcomes to change, we need systems to change, and that means changing policies because outcomes are reflections of systems that are controlled and structured and created by policies. And so not only have I been really proud to see us successfully work towards the Housing Navigation Center and start to get safe parking, it needs to be more resources faster. That's a policy I'd be really passionate to continue working on if reelected. But also really broaden our scope of focus and look at tenant protections and tenant justice, especially, right? Some cities have had a lot of success ensuring that those tenants who are facing eviction have a eviction defense attorney by right that they don't need to pay for, similar to how one is guaranteed a public defender in criminal court. That's been a way to really stop a lot of the frivolous evictions. I'd be interested in us looking at that as well as other policies. Aside from Fremont for Everyone, I'm really active in other places in our political community, specifically in the Democratic Party. And so I bring a focus not only on housing, but a really intersectional focus. I'm also on the younger side. So I bring that perspective as well. My young people are renters, young people are facing housing insecurity. Not to say older people aren't, they absolutely are, but the younger generation has kind of been hit with the brunt of the housing crisis. Speaking of my connections in the Democratic Party, I sit on the executive board of the California Renters Council, where we work specifically on renters issues. I was really proud to lead an effort to score all of our state legislators based upon how they were voting on tenant protection legislation. We were the first statewide organization in the Democratic Party to do such a thing. Many of our electeds scored quite well, including our state senator and state assembly person here in Fremont, Alex Lee and Aisha Wahab. They've been champions for tenants issues and
10 seconds, Annie.
broadly for housing. Thank you. And I would love your vote.
Thank you, Annie. And the last, is Bob running, or is the sixth, who's the sixth candidate? Kate? Hi, the floor is all yours. So the question was, please introduce yourself and describe your experience with housing advocacy and specifically Fremont for Everyone.
Okay, well, starting with my name, which is Lizzie, and my name is Kate Long, and yes, I've enjoyed working with everyone at Fremont for Everyone, so I want to try to contribute more. Like anyone, I've been with Fremont for Everyone since the housing innovation erupted, and we saw the ugliness, and we wanted to counteract that with more acceptance and practical efforts to make them better for those who have more housing challenges. In particular, I also want to see accountability.
Hey, can I interrupt? I'm sorry, your audio is not coming in very clearly. Is there?
Okay.
Maybe do like a sound check. I want to make sure everyone gets every single bit of information you're putting out there. I'm gonna give you a little bit more time to.
Okay, you should be able to hear me better this way. Am I coming better with the headset?
A little better. It's still a little bit echoey. Is there another microphone you might have turned on?
No, I plugged this in. It should be exclusively with the headset now.
Okay.
It's redlining for some reason.
Let me check my. Okay. Okay, I'm making sure that my microphone is not over amplified. Is it sounding better?
A tiny bit.
Tiny bit. Can you try turning down the microphone volume? Maybe it's creating the feedback.
Okay. Okay, I've turned down my microphone volume. Has that improved?
Oh, much better.
Okay. I'll start over and I'll be quick.
From the top.
Okay. My name is Kate Amon. Like Annie and others, I've been involved since it was the housing navigation struggle to show some compassion for those with housing challenges. And I've enjoyed working with everyone in Fremont for everyone, so I want to contribute more, especially with justice for renters and accountability for corporate landlords that are doing tenant churn and breaking laws in their contracts with complete impunity. Really, there's just this complete imbalance between renters' legal abilities and the corporate landlords. So want to make efforts on that, as well as, the YIMBY and getting more housing built, as well as especially affordable housing. And that's my motivation.
Well, thank you very much, Kate. Before I go to the next question, Jenna, is there business after this meeting?
No,
No, okay. I'm just trying to gauge that.
not really.
Okay. You guys are giving such great answers. I just want to hear it all. So, all right. So the next question that I'm going to pass to everybody, some of you may have already answered parts of this, so I'll elaborate a little bit. Please describe your vision for Fremont for Everyone as an organization. What can we do as an organization that could be the most effective in advocating for the causes that we care about? Jenna.
Yeah, like I said, kind of piggyback off of what I said in the last answer. I'm big on constituent participation, and so we try to, as hard as we can, to be like a strong voice for the unhoused, whether we're speaking at city council meetings or we're putting on events, or we're tabling at the 4th of July party. Those are the things that I enjoy the most, and I feel like I'm the most effective at. And I want to continue to do more of those things to get people involved. So, a lot of people know who we are, but then a lot of times they're always like, "Oh, but what do you do?" And I like to be able to say, "Hey, we're doing this. Come on out and see us in action." But I also, I liked a lot of what everyone else was saying. I'm big on making sure that there's affordable housing, and not we want to do market rate housing and stuff like that, but I think part of the problem is we just have big multinational corporations like BlackRock who are coming in and outbidding single family homes. We need more regulation of the most wealthy in the economy, and so I want to be able to do events where we're going to be able to drive people there to educate them. Because a lot of times people don't really know exactly why there's a lot of housing. They see a lot of development and they think that that's a problem. And like anything else, it can be a problem, but it's not the only problem. And it's not the only thing driving up housing prices. So I want to be able to continue to be an organization that keeps people informed on everything and all the factors that are involving high pricing, and being able to ensure that we're continuing to give those who are unhoused or housing instability more options, and be able to understand, choosing this, it's going to be able to help them do this, and avoid, endorsing programs that will help people avoid being unhoused in the first place. It's all about giving people more ability to take control of their own lives and their own destiny. And that is basically my main focus of what I want to do.
Thank you, Jenna. David.
Thank you, Hayes. I think what we do is we continue to build on what has been our strength as an organization. We have a policy committee that informs our membership as to legislation that we think is important, and it's an opportunity to educate our members and the larger community as to issues that impact Fremont on making housing more successful and meeting our goals for increasing the housing supply, particularly affordable housing. And I commend my fellow members and leaders in the organization for the hard work that we did on the recent update of the housing element, which was an 8-year housing element through 2031, to the point now that although I had pre-existing relationships with Mr. Poland and other members of the planning staff, and certainly the council from my own involvement with the city, Lisa and others within the organization have been such credible subject matter experts that the city itself, the city is looking at us as subject matter experts on housing issues. That's a tremendous level of credibility. But I also think that, and I want to give you, so there's no business tonight. Everybody should know that next Wednesday, September 25th at 6:30 p.m., we're housing a candidate forum for the mayor. And then the following Monday, September 30th at 6:30 p.m. at the Fremont Lane Library for the council candidates. I've been participating in those activities, and we need to have everybody here broadcast that and have in-person engagement, focusing our candidates on housing issues. Finally, and simply, that we need to be the voice for those that do not have a voice, for the most vulnerable. There's so much otherizing that's going on in the wake of the city of Grant Pass to criminalize the status of being homeless. I spoke last night for the first time since I was off council in 2018. We need to remember there's a human focus, a human suffering out there, and that's what our collective voice should always be about. Thank you, Hayes.
Thank you, David. Next is Catherine. Did you want me to repeat the question? So the question was, what goals do you have for Fremont for Everyone, and how can we be the most effective? What strategies can we employ to be the most effective advocacy organization? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I do want Fremont for Everyone to continue its current goals and supporting important issues concerning homelessness, tenant rights, housing, the whole gambit that we've been doing. But I want to, as I said in my opening statement, or the first question, to not just wait for issues to come up for us to support, but to actively seek issues that we can even present. So, for example, present things to city council that would be important to Fremont, or support issues that would be important not just to Fremont, but the county or the state, by speaking to our local politicians and asking if they can write bills that would support those kinds of things that would be important to us in furthering our goals. We have already started doing other things. Not only did we do the HNC and the safe parking, and we really pushed for Project Homekey, but as David pointed out, we also participated in making sure that we had a voice in the housing element. And we've started this year, I think, was when we started this, but supporting bills that are coming across and asking politicians to support those bills that are important to us. And I just kind of want to strengthen the organization and grow our membership. I'd really like for us to become more publicly noticed. We are becoming noticed by local leaders, and that's great, but I also want the public to become more aware of us. So, maybe we can, promote some activities in the local paper and gain membership that way, talk to people, like at the not just do like the 4th of July tabling event, but other events that might come across as opportunities to talk about our organization. And I think that by strengthening our membership and our involvement, we'll continue to grow as a organization and have a stronger voice. Did I cover the question?
Yes, thank you, Catherine. I was reaching for my unmute button.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next is Lisa.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to sort of, as David said, continue what we've been doing well. I also want to optimize our organizational structure to enable us to be more nimble, resilient, and effective. And things that I think we could be doing better that I'd love to try to implement this year is I'd like to see more task sharing among the leads. We've had some brainstorming around formalizing the idea of what roles leads would take. So I would invite and encourage everyone who ends up being a lead to take on a role, which we can discuss as a leadership team if, whenever we figure out who's on the team. I also would love to see more empowering members to lead initiatives, because the leadership team is at the end of the day the group who's on the hook to keep the group running. But I think that any individual member should feel empowered to take a ball and run with it if they have a great idea. And we've had wonderful contributions from people whose names weren't on the leadership list, stepping up and sending letters on behalf of the group. I know God has done a lot of that. Kate's done a lot of that, and now running for lead. So clearly this is a good on-ramp to our leadership team. And I want to see, make more people feel empowered to step up at that level. And even if they have an idea, I want to run with it. Additionally, I would love to build our technical capacity, especially around the ability to make data-driven and research-driven decisions, because I think we have room to grow in that area. We have some capacity, but we've talked about doing a book club before. I think that would be a great idea. And if we are doing more lead task sharing and my lead tasks plate is a little less overflowing, I might be able to step up and lead a book club. I would love to do that. And finally, one last thing I want to say, I heard David say we want to be the voice for those who don't have a voice. And, when we have to, I think that makes sense. But I also want to be the megaphone for people whose voices aren't being heard as much as possible and let folks be for themselves. That's all.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Next is Annie.
Yeah, I concur with many of the things that have already been said. I also want to bring diversity of perspective into our organization. And by that, right, I mean, I would love to see more younger people in our organization, as well as what Lisa was saying. Right, serving as a megaphone for those who have often been ignored by systems of power, even though they shouldn't be. I also would love to grow our membership. Right, I love that we table at the 4th of July event. There are other events. There's a free speech area at the Fremont Arts and Culture Festival. I would love for us to engage there and engage and really grow our membership. I also want to build on our policy advocacy and continue to do policy advocacy that keeps in mind the needs of unhoused people, the needs of renters, and be an organization that truly does lift up all and ensures that Fremont is for everyone, and a counter to oftentimes the NIMBYism and general bigotry of some of our neighbors in Fremont, unfortunately.
Thank you, Annie. And last is Kate.
I will make sure to unmute myself. Am I coming in clearly? Okay, good. I would like to take the lead primarily from the others who have been coming up with great ideas and just help implement those. I think there's already a lot of good ideas, a lot of things that Lisa and like Annie have brought up. The candidate forums, I think that's brilliant. The other actions that have been taken, like collaborating with YIMBY, I think that's very helpful. And yeah, other activities that come up besides tabling for the Fremont after 4th of July after party, those are all good. And other ideas that come up, I support. And also, I know some, and I'm also for some of the research that we've been trying to do on corporate landlords and trying to get our own information, just seeing with the information that's already out there and compile it, because I didn't really see that as being available. So all those kind of activities that are fulfilling our stated goal of compassion for those with housing challenges and trying to make things better so there's more housing. I approve, and I want to pitch in and help with all of it.
We appreciate that, Kate. Thank you very much. And last question, and I swear I did not pre-plan this in advance. What specific role do you currently hold, if you're currently serving? And what roles do you think would help the group move? What kind of capacity building do you think that the group could use in order to better effectively carry out its mission?
Well, as I said, I'm communications director, and so I really like what Lisa said about making all of us, not singling anybody out because we all could step up and do more, but I want to be able to do what Lisa implied, and that is start to be able to proportionately assign different roles to all members of Fremont for Everyone, because obviously I think the more hands that can help out, the easier it is for things to get accomplished. And as far as adding anything to Fremont for Everyone, I'm just going to reiterate what I said in the last answer. I really do like having more constituent input, so that way we know that we're being effective in the goals that we're trying to achieve. I know last year I wanted to just be able to do more in-person updates about maybe once a month, not just having the monthly meetings, but just having, maybe we could set up a meeting with the mayor and be able to have constituents come down and do a town hall with the mayor, and then do different town halls with different Fremont government representatives. That way, I think a lot of times people feel like they're not being heard. And a lot of times, if you just give people a little bit of time to just vent and be able to just ask questions, they're not going to be so hostile towards their city representatives, or not be quite so angry about, because we all have justified grievances, right? And I feel like the more people can see an effective, caring and empathetic city government, the more they're going to be less inclined to just be just their instant reaction is negative. And yeah, I want to be able to seriously start moving towards events and programs that we can do that get people more excited about their, civic participation.
Thank you, Jenna. David.
Yes, Hayes, is this our third and last question, or is there another follow-up?
No, this is the third last question. I was going to open it up to questions and answers from the audience if after this, and if nothing else, then we can conclude the forum.
Very good. Thank you again, Hayes, for hosting it. I just looked at our Fremont for Everyone group page. We have 707 members that have identified on our social media page. What we can do is find ways to empower more people to feel like they can be part of the organization at a policy level in our various committees. And so that this is, the leadership team sets kind of a collaborative umbrella to empower people to be engaged, like Jenna was saying. I think that our work is going to be, and I'm very interested in the work that Kate wants to do on corporate landlords, and that's part of the national movement. But I think, right, for me at least, there's things that just really grab me. One was, again, the city of Grants Pass. I have periodically on our page followed that case even before it went to the oral argument Supreme Court. I dissected the case, I criticized the case, I highlighted Sotomayor's dissent, and it's percolated down to the council meeting that we had last Tuesday. And thankfully, Lisa's there even remotely. Saw a Friday agenda, and there it was for Tuesday, and that kind of, fluidity and alacrity, we were able to have Mary Lou and I speak, and it was really impressive. But we're going to be looking at ordinances in October and then soon after November, where they're going to try to make a more punitive approach to the status of being homeless and following the executive order of Governor Newsom. I think we need to be, this is kind of the HNC in reverse. Then we were being affirmative and trying to provide more services. Now we've got to fight back against a trend line that's going in the opposite direction. And this could be a real mobilizing opportunity for people that the loudest voices in those rooms are the ones that want to be more sanctioning, create more law enforcement, create more punitive actions. We need to counterbalance that and put pressure on the council members not to simply go with the least common denominator in criminalizing homelessness. I think that can be a real rallying cry and maybe a great way of galvanizing people. And since this is the last question, unless there's questions posed to me, I thought Annie, they said the right thing, which is I'd like to be honored by your vote and your support for another year on the leadership team. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David. Lisa?
Sure, thanks. I feel like I talked about a lot of this in the last question. I definitely did not remember that this other question was coming. But a few kind of additional things to share. I think these are honestly kind of small and wonky, but I think that they'll matter. I think there's some things in our bylaws that are potentially making it less optimal for us. For example, needing to elect leads at large when we're trying to switch to roles. So we could potentially adjust for that. I think there's a few things that we're even not doing that we're supposed to be. Like I think the bylaws say the leads meet weekly, which we haven't been doing for years. So just kind of adjusting them would be good. And various practices that we've had, I think we could just kind of optimize. Like we have a practice around needing to give the leads 48 hours notice before posting the public facing meeting minutes, just in case there's anything that they disagree should be public, which in practice I think has never really been challenged. So it seems like just like an unnecessary friction. This is really wonky, but these little details, just ironing out the things that are currently slowing us down, I think would be helpful. And one thing that we've had challenges with sometimes in previous years after the election that I think we should all commit to getting right this time is very quickly agree among the new leads what time is going to be our meeting time, so that, and a time that everybody can commit to attending every time, minus some sort of emergency, because we have been having challenges with attendance at leadership meetings that we need to figure out how to get past. So I think they all sound kind of small minutia, but I think collectively they're slowing us down. So addressing those things I think will help.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Catherine?
In defining what role I currently hold in Fremont for Everyone, I can probably say that no one has ever had any really defined role. I love the fact that Jenna has stepped up and given herself a title. I think it's just marvelous. And and I would really love for all of us, I echo Lisa on this, in that I would really love for all of the leaders to have leadership roles that have titles and that we're all responsible for, so that the bulk of the responsibility doesn't just fall on 1, 2, or 3 people, but that everybody has a role that they're responsible for. And in line with that, I would also like to say that right after the election, I would like for us to decide on who's going to fill what role, what position. We all decide. We've kind of been talking about this in some of our meetings. about what that might look like. So I'd like to, put all that together. Unfortunately, I don't remember the second half of the question, but I have been picking up a lot of the slack that Lisa has been responsible for. And I've asked her to do some training meetings with me, and I've been trying to learn some of the things that she does. So I've been helping with that. But I'd like to continue learning more, and I would like to have identified roles. And what was the second part of the question?
It was just if you felt like there's something we might be missing that we could that would really be good to supplement. But yeah.
Well, in that response, I would just like to echo what Lisa had to say about making sure our bylaws are up to date, and that we are continuing to do that as an organization as we become more well-known and stronger as an organization, just to make sure that we're not hindered and that we keep moving forward and we keep growing as an organization.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is Annie.
Yes, well, we currently have not had defined roles. I know, I keep falling. I do agree that we should have them. Some of the tasks that I've been more drawn to include the more policy type stuff and advocacy as opposed to the more organizational tasks. So I am looking forward, should I be reelected, to ensuring that we all have roles and we all know who's doing what work when. I also do concur with David that we're at a kind of critical moment right now with the new Grants Pass decision, and would love to do what we did with the navigation center, took a lead in that sort of organizing, and once more do that organizing and policy work relating to to really standing up for the rights of our unhoused neighbors as the city potentially cracks down on the status of homelessness, which is incredibly classist and unfair and does not solve any of the problems that the policy seeks to solve. And once again, as it sounds like this might be the last question, I would be honored to have your vote. And I think I know almost everybody on this call. If you have any questions, feel free to ideally text me. If you don't have my number, email me is fine.
Thank you very much, Annie. And last is Kate.
Hello, thank you. I would be a new lead, and so I'm very flexible on what role would be appropriate for me. I want to try to help fill in where there needs to be people stepping up and help where that's needed. I admire the leadership we've already had and the good ideas that are already being implemented. So I'm not at a point where I want to reinvent the wheel, but just pitch in. And I'd be honored if people would vote to have me help join the leadership team. And yeah, we want to get more good stuff rolling and becoming a more effective organization.
Great, thank you. So thank you very much, all the candidates, for your service, for doing this. I know it's a volunteer organization, is only run by volunteers, and it's a lot of work that we put in, a lot of very good and very important work. And I think the community does thank us and appreciates every hour we put in. And so I do want to open up the floor to any audience member questions, if any. Let's see. I see. I'm going to do these 1 minute quick lightning ones. Okay. Jane Lynn asks, we have a significant number of members, but active participation seems to be only a handful of us. How can we encourage more involvement? Socials, ideas? And I'm going to go to, and Vanita is next. These are going to be very quick, so I'm going to pass it off to Jenna first.
Oh, I love the idea of socials. If we can continue to have events where we can interact with not just, the fellow members of FFE, but like I said, the constituents. I think that that is a great way to, like I said, give people feel like they're more involved, and we can take their ideas and see how we can implement it into the organization. So that constant feedback loop, I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Jenna. David.
Now, I think this goes back to the point that Lisa was mentioning earlier about how do we optimize our processes. And I do think we need to identify issues sooner. We're constrained sometimes by the Friday to the Tuesday turnaround from a city council agenda to a city council meeting, but really begin to identify a core group of people that will, when we have organically, but maybe build on people speaking at council meetings, at planning commission meetings, and really identify ourselves as Fremont for Everyone, whether a leadership team or somebody that's a member, and then amplify that on social media. I spoke last night, I did this, I'm going to do this. And that's kind of galvanizing the attention and platforming of our organization. So I think that's a great question, but I think that it really deserves some coordinated thought among our group here to really maximize that. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Lisa.
I think I really like what I've heard so far, and kind of building on what David said, the time that our organization had the most very active members was during the HNC fight. If we have a really big effort, that I think is what brings people out who are ready to pitch in when it's time to sprint and maybe don't have time to be active every week of every year. So I think, this grants pass issue where we're pushing back, this could be our next HNC scale fight, and we could use it to galvanize our members. And I think the detailed suggestions that David gave, I can't do better than that. I think those are great ideas.
Thank you, Lisa. Catherine.
An airplane was going overhead at the time you asked the question. Can you please repeat it?
Yes, the question was that we have a significant number of members, but only a couple very dedicated, active volunteers. How can we encourage more involvement, socials, ideas?
Ooh, I really like that question because I've been asking myself the same question. How can we increase membership and participation? I've tried to do a little bit of that with a couple of Facebook posts, like encouraging attending membership meetings and such, and so that they can get voting credit, to encourage voting. I have suggested kind of behind the scenes with a couple of other leads that maybe we could post like a brief synopsis and something like Tri-City Voice to kind of talk about what we've been doing, what we hope to do to kind of bring more public awareness, so that we can increase membership and hopefully get members who are really interested in becoming more involved. But I think that one of the things that we could be doing is we could be reaching out to our membership and asking them questions like, what would you like to see? Where do you see us going? Is there anything that you feel like we're not doing that you would, like to see? So that kind of thing.
Thank you, Catherine. And Kate, or sorry, Annie.
Yeah, it's very important to note that generally when we have those kind of big central things that we mobilize around Housing Navigation Center, like again, Grants Pass, our membership activity increases. And right, we're not always going to have those sorts of fights. It's good that we're not running on 100% all the time. But at the same time, leads with more members will be more involved, right? If they feel that they have a reason to be involved. And so I really want to empower our membership to step up and lead and be involved in projects that matter to them, especially policy related projects. our committee structure, our comms and policy committees are a real opportunity for growth and an opportunity to pull in members who don't have quite as much time for a board position, but who want to be a little bit more involved than just being in our Facebook group.
Thank you, Annie and Kate.
Hi, I think socials are fun, but I also agree with Lisa that we need galvanizing issue like the grants pass is good. And once people are on board, having them involved in committees and specific projects and tasks that are engaging, like, you know, like the policy research and ways to keep your head in the game. So those are all things that I find motivating and engaging, and I think that would work also for our members. And maybe a quick questionnaire to the membership would be a fine thing too.
Great, thank you so much. We have two more questions here. Next is Vanita, but I did want to address one question from Liz Fisher. This is more of a technical question. Does FFE have a secretary and treasurer, and are there bylaws that address the organization's recording and finances? I can quickly answer that. We do not have a secretary or a treasurer because we don't have any finances. We do have bylaws that govern the way that these meetings are carried out and leadership team responsibilities, for example. That could be found on the website. And so, Vanita, did you want to state your question, or do you want me to read it for you?
No, I would like to state it because it's a two-part question. One of them is written, the other one is in my head. The first part will be, okay, I will be the broken record. As long as you guys have known me, I've always talked about family-based housing and the homelessness that exists in the within the families, not only singles who are homeless. That population has grown exponentially in past few years. But I haven't seen much happen in the city of Fremont addressing that particular category of people. So is there, what would you like to do in that area? That's my first question. And my second question is, would you be interested in opening up and partnering with other organizations who are doing similar work? And if so, who? And if not, why not? It's a long question, but I hope we got it.
Great. Are the candidates clear on the question? Just by a show of...
I wasn't on the first part. I had no idea what the question was. I'm sorry, Vanita. I missed it.
Oh, goodness, David. Seriously? The question, I'm just kidding. I have to give him a hard time anyways.
You always give David a it's okay.
Hayes, do you want to say it, or do you want me to say it again?
I think it's better that you say it from your own words.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, as I was saying, that homelessness has grown exponentially in multiple folds in family, and there has not been much done in city of Fremont for the people who are in family and are either struggling or either are homeless or struggling to stay out of homelessness. And so the question was, how would you like to address that? What is your vision to do to address that particular situation? That's my first part.
Great. Homeless families, I think, is the topic of
Yes.
homeless families.
Yes.
All right. Jenna.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree in the sense that I don't see much being done towards helping homeless families as well. I mean, we're struggling to try and even get 2 prongs for a safe parking. You know, city council has been very dragging their feet. I'm all about trying to figure out solutions to help all groups that are struggling with being housed. Everyone's important. It's hard for me to decide, you know, like who's going to take priority over who. As far as organizations that specifically focus on helping unhoused families, I don't know many. but I certainly think it's something that we could start to put a lot more attention towards. And yeah, I'm sorry if I'm giving such a vague politician answer, but it's something I definitely agree is awful and we should be focused on a lot more. And that's something, if I'm on leadership, if I'm fortunate enough to be back, it's something that I would like to make a priority of our focus as well.
Thank you, Jenna. David.
Thank you. As to the first part, it really is a two-part part. We're really a policy organization, not an implementation organization. When I was with the Boathouse Services, their focus rightly has been on what's called rapid rehousing, taking families that have gone into being unhoused and rapidly trying to find other housing, and with a real emphasis on keeping the family units together. In terms of a policy, we've already taken a position on the third prong, which would have a permanent site for people in our.
Oh, Charlie, I'm gonna have a salad. The air fryer cheese.
Jane, we can
Sorry,
hear
Jane,
you.
I'm gonna mute you.
You're making me hungry, Jane.
Salivating.
So she would rather eat salad than listen to me. That's okay. So I'm at prong 3, which is really trying to emphasize, our McKinney-Vento children that are underhoused, and really having a place that's safe at night when they can go to school the next day. So that's a policy thing that would still have to be implemented by the city. As far as other partnership organizations, we've been talking about renters' rights, the Rights Coalition. There could be a joint event there. We've had some things in the past in terms of forums. There's opportunities there, but I also think that we need to be we need to avoid mission creep. We shouldn't just be looking for partner organizations that have other agendas. We really need to be very discriminating. We've got enough on our plate to be really the focus of what we want to do. So that's my response. Thank you, Benita.
Thank you, David. Lisa.
Sure. So for the first part of the question about families experiencing homelessness or at risk, I do see that some of our work already touches on this, in particular when we've worked with trying to promote affordable housing developments. These have typically had a mix of units that have, from studios to 3 bedrooms. So accommodating a wide variety of household types, including families with children. We have also pushed for expanding the safe parking program to a city-owned site that could accommodate families with children, because it is definitely a miss that we don't have that yet. As far as services for families with children who are currently unhoused and do not have vehicles, I have to admit that's not my area of expertise. I have the impression that we actually have a fair amount of services in the city already, but I don't have the expertise on what else is needed. Second part of the question, for partnering with other organizations, we already have a strong partnership with California YIMBY. We're officially affiliated with them. And like I said in a previous answer, I attend their monthly partnership strategy sessions to keep abreast of what they're working on. And we use their legislation list to inform our legislative endorsements and give us sort of a starting point. We also have a partnership going with Catalyze SV, who does occasional analyses of upcoming proposed housing developments. To me, the big limiting factor of partnerships is our ability to be responsive to our partners when they need us to. And we struggled with that for a long time with Catalyze. We have a structure that's kind of working now, where we basically have a weekly check-in, which was supposed to be something like 4 or 5 people, but now it's basically just Catherine and me. But we are checking in regularly, and that has kept us from dropping the ball on that. And so if we were to try to expand our partnerships, we just need to make sure that we have the capacity to be good partners. So I'm not opposed to it, but I want to be very focused on our level of capacity, because it takes work to have a partnership.
Thank you, Lisa. Catherine.
Okay, so Benita has brought up a really important question that I have also felt very passionately about. I believe that homeless people do not just comprise of single people. They also comprise of couples, which, by the way, get separated if they go into shelters. So this is one of the many reasons why somebody might turn down a shelter situation. families get separated as well. Not all the time, but often, because social workers feel that being homeless and living in a car is inappropriate for children to be raised in. And I think that this is a really, really important issue to address. And I have been pushing since I started as a leader in Fremont for Everyone, education, education, education. That means we need to remind our leaders and educate the general public on what causes homelessness and who the homeless people really are. And not just the people who are visible, because there are many people who are not usually visible to the general public, and they don't want to be visible because of the stigma attached to homelessness. So I feel it is an important issue that we need to push through. And as far as the second question, yes, so long as we have the capacity to do so.
Thank you, Catherine. Kate, sorry, Annie.
Yes, I apologize. I'm likely going to have to go after this question because of other commitments. But yes, I agree. Sorry. Families being unhoused is a big, big problem. Two policy solutions that I would suggest focusing on are prongs 2 and 3 of the safe parking plan, as well as a navigation center that accepts families. Right? We're a policy organization, not an implementation one, but those are two policies that would help address the problem. In theory, I am supportive of partnerships. We need to make sure that we have structures in place, as Lisa said, to be good partners, though, right, that also might be a good place to get other members involved and to empower other members who are not on the board if they're interested.
Thank you, Annie. Kate.
I first think about our efforts to try to get the city to have their own lots and not just ones volunteered by communities of faith, so that there can be family-friendly, safe parking. I mean, that just seems like such a no-brainer, and that would alleviate the problem in Irvington that has the neighbors up in arms. We saw, how incensed they were by these RVs running their generators, and those were families. There's showed these pictures of kids up on the tops of the RVs, and yeah, so the safe parking would push on that, and that's the main one I think of for the ones living, and also through the school district has tried to be very helpful where they can in support of unhoused students. I know there's a lot of separate efforts for that, and we should collaborate with that too.
Thank you, Kate. All great ideas. So I think I'm going to do one last question, and I'm going to compile two concerns that two people have voiced, and I'm going to try my best to summarize both of them. Membership feels that a close collaboration with city leadership, city and county government is very important to our. Can you please? The kids just came into the room. That's what I do. I'm a full-time dad, so that's kind of my my day job. But so our members feel that close collaboration with city leadership and county leadership is very important. How do we propose to build closer relationships to, one, our council members, two, our city's human services division, and three, the county of Alameda, which provides a lot of funding. The first is Jenna.
So I really like the city council idea. We've been doing it a little bit more this last leadership term. And I think that that's something I personally would like to, if we have time, try and aim towards, maybe twice a month, or try to go every, because there's only 3 meetings a month. If we could start to go towards meeting with city council every month, or having a topic that we can discuss to consistently put pressure on them, for whatever, right now it's grants pass, which I think that is, we did a phenomenal job there. And I would love to see that continue to be pressed, because I think that not only, of course, the Supreme Court, but really disappointing. Like, we expected it from the Supreme Court, but really disappointingly, I mean, I guess we could have kind of expected it too, but Gavin Newsom's executive order was just a real gut punch. And I feel like we need to take that momentum just on this one topic alone and just continuously hammer city council and be like, are you going to make sure that the unhoused here in Fremont are treated with dignity? We don't do any sweeps. We don't do anything that's going to make people feel like they're less than human, because they're not. And as far as city services, the human services, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe Lisa or somebody can correct me on this. I don't know if we have that much of a open relationship with human services, but it's certainly something I think that would go hand in hand with us. And as far as the county, yeah, I would love to try and figure out how to do some more things as well. I think those are all fantastic ideas, especially city council.
Hayes, I think I'm next, but you're on mute.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Sorry, David, you're next.
Yeah, I figured. Okay, thank you. Good question. And actually, it dovetails with how can we improve our membership. We really, this is kind of like blackboarding things here with these questions. But it occurs to me that since we have the 6 districts, that we can identify members within each district, and they become a cadre of support with a direct relationship with their council members. So when they meet, they're not only part of our organization, but they're constituents of that particular council member. That doesn't mean that we don't have roving people that show up with, but that would be a way of really honing in on the interests of our group that turns into votes for them. And we do have existing relationships with human services, and Laura Flores, who spoke at the city council. Lisa and I met with, I believe, Ms. Flores and then the independent consultant when they were doing the homelessness response plan a couple of months ago. So those relationships should be developed. Suzanne Schenfeld has retired. I'm not sure who the replacement is, if they have a new homeless human services director. But Kathy Kimberlin, who's my District 3 council member now, is also on David Halbert's staff, and we can begin leveraging that to make sure that we get in touch with the right people at the county level. But keep in mind that those are county funds that tend to go to unincorporated areas. So we want to be able to focus our advocacy in areas that really have a direct impact on the resources that go to Fremont. All good ideas, all good questions, and those are some of my ideas off the cuff. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Lisa.
Sure. So I like the idea of building more relationships. Like I was saying earlier, I would like to invite our members to step up and take leadership on that if that's something you're interested in the sense that, this is a capacity increase if we're going to do something like this. And it's a good idea, but I think it would take somebody to coordinate it, because we've been throwing around like, yes, we should have this, but who's going to do it? Somebody has to do it. One of the other groups that I'm in is Citizens Climate Lobby, and they have a model where they have liaisons to members of Congress, where a single person in the group, or occasionally a pair of people sort of, will work on it together, are identified as the main sort of point person for communication with that member. And then that person's actually separate from the leader, because it's such a big job that, you split the task that way. So we could potentially, since we're talking about a lot of people, all of our council members, as well as county and staff, maybe we have one liaison coordinator who wants to step up, and then I'm just spitballing here, but I think that what it would take to achieve this would be for somebody to organize it. And I like David's idea about having constituents be the liaisons if possible. And I also want to note for anybody who doesn't remember that we did have a meeting with what's the correct title for the county people? I'm blanking, but with David Halbert shortly after. Thank you, Supervisor Halbert. Shortly after he was elected, to basically introduce ourselves to him. And one of the things that he said that I was really heartened by was that he felt that the county should be financially supporting efforts to work on homelessness and affordable housing. So we could definitely stand to build on that.
Thank you, Lisa. Catherine, the question was, how can we better engage with local elected leaders, city staff, and county to carry out our advocacy goals?
Well, I think we've started kind of doing that process a little bit by like reaching out to, I'm sorry, I don't even remember her last name. Christina, she's my council member, and I don't remember her last name. But we reached out to her during the 4th of July.
Teresa Kang?
I'm sorry?
Teresa Kang?
No.
Desiree Campbell.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Totally got the name wrong. Desiree Campbell, yeah. She's, but we reached out to her already, and I think that we are getting ready to reach out to our new council member who has just taken over for Jenny Casson. And so I think we're doing a little bit of this. I'd like to see more of that, just kind of reach out to each of our council members. In this upcoming election year would be a really good opportunity because we'll have new people coming in. Just kind of introduce ourselves as an organization, maybe just kind of send out a letter to staff and council members to say, you know, hey, here we are. This is what we represent. This is what we're trying to accomplish, so that they're familiar with us, and invite them to ask questions and have discussions. Maybe we can do some forums, just, you know, question and answer things, you know, like not just from us, but from the community. Because I think it'd be kind of a fun event to have community be able to just sit there and ask questions to their council members. That's really kind of what I'm thinking of.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is Kate.
Last and hopefully not least, what we could also do is, you know, the advantages of some of us are old. I like the young voices, but some of the old people, we have some pre-existing relationships and know the council members and other elected officials that we can leverage that. And even with besides the city of Fremont, I think we should also coordinate with the Fremont Resource Center, because that's a resource literally for coordinated resources for people facing all sorts of challenges within our city. And they are a beneficiary of the Christmas Club. They get donations from our charity drive. So we coordinate with them that way. So that's an organization I'm already, you know, have connections with. And yeah, I know some of the council members also, like all of you, from the Housing Navigation Center battle, and as well as from Christmas Place. So we can keep working with those connections and extend them by simply reaching out, by calling and emailing as good constituents.
Thank you, Kate. Well, there you have it. We've heard from 6 very fine individuals tonight on their visions for our organization. That is it for our 2024 Leadership Forum. Thank you very much, and be sure to attend the mayoral candidate debates next week. Hosted by David.
And let us know if there's a way for us to help with those forums, with the details of running the forum. I can be available to help.
We're going to need people. First off, thank you again, Hayes, for running the forum. It's very much appreciated. You did a fantastic job as always.
Yeah, thank you.
As far as participation is concerned, we need people who can run time for the debate. We need people who can collect cards that people are writing their questions on. And so we can hand them in to David as he's moderating. So you can reach out to any one of us and be like, hey, I want to do this. It applies to both forums that we're going to do, the mayoral forum as well as the city council forum.
We have
And again, the mayoral forum is going to be this Wednesday, the 25th at 6:30 at the library. And I believe the city council one's at the library as well, right?
Yep.
That would be
Monday.
nice and consistent. I like that.
Yeah, I was picking one of the spots and I said, why not? It's get people, caring a little bit more about the library again. And then, yeah, the city council forum is going to be Monday the 30th, also 6:30, right, Dave? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, also 6:30. And yeah, we
Yes.
haven't really formally advertised that yet because we're still trying to get yeses from everybody, but we have 6 yeses, so that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
We got a critical mass.
Yeah, some of those individuals who hang out at the library are regulars there. So it would be really cool if you actually had some unhoused people ask the mayoral camp. I mean, that's kind of where a lot of people go to drop off goods and things like that. Try to gather people in there and be like, try to introduce yourselves and just say, hey, we're just talking about the future of homelessness. This is your
That
chance.
is
They're listening to you. Yeah, I just wanted to give just as a member, it's really great connecting with you guys. It's just time has not been on my side, but I did want to give you guys a little bit of I guess advice because I was running a lot of logistics with Lisa before during our term when we kicked those things off. When we wrote those bylaws, we were really afraid of people coming in and subverting our process, right? So a lot of those procedures that we put in there were really to kind of screen out bad actors. And I think after a couple of years, we've seen a lot of this stuff not play out. I guess maybe you guys, you might feel differently, but I haven't seen really this play out. And so simplifying some of those types of things, I think would be really great. And the other thing that, my observations is that some of those things like the weekly email blast, making members vote and record participation in order to become a membership of our group. But I think it's time to relook at that, not because of what it does, but of the that's taking away somebody else's self-initiation capacity. They could be kind of tallying those things, or they can be running a passion project for the group that might be more beneficial. So that, I did want to chime in there because I felt Lisa's pain a little bit. I didn't want to say it during that time, but I think it is a really valid point. Maybe simplify the things that people don't really care about so much, and focus on the things that people do.
I think that's a great suggestion. We can always look to simplify things, streamline
thanks
it.
for the historical perspective.
Yeah. And I think you all developed that same bylaws. You guys remember that a little bit.
Yeah, but you reminded us, so.
Yeah. Oh, I actually have an interesting kind of a little thing to share with you guys. The church I go to is building tiny homes for unhoused, and we just got the project approved. So.
Oh, that's awesome!
Very cool.
I love that.
We're actually using one of those Senate bills that was administratively approved by staff, right? And so, yeah, and they're gonna do we have to go through this public outreach campaign? The answer was no, we don't. It was really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm on the communications team for that project too, but they have to, there's some things they have to iron out, but I would love to have you guys, once it breaks ground and things like that, and occupy, that would be a really great opportunity. So I'll let keep you guys in the loop if you guys are interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What city is that in?
San Leandro.
San Leandro. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you have to have a lot of land, I guess, and it's only 8 units really, but it's taken years to plan, but we're excited.
Good.
Do you guys want to stop recording?
Yeah, we can stop recording.
Having side information.
Oh, you're still recording? Sorry.